Hello and welcome to Turning Clothes into Cash. This is the podcast where we dive deep into selling pre-loved, vintage, and new clothing, shoes, and accessories on platforms like Depop and eBay. I'm your host at laurenlazelle on Instagram and also at Up and Out Thrift on eBay and Depop. Do not forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, dropping your what you sell, and a little bit about yourself to be featured in future episodes. New episodes drop every Monday and Friday, so make sure to tune in for tips, tricks, and trends for turning your clothes into cash. Let's get into it. I'm at Lauren Lazelle on Instagram, and I'm the owner of at Up and Out Thrift on, you guessed it, eBay and Depop. Okay, today I have a little bit of a beginner's guide to kind of keeping track of your inventory to sell on eBay and Depop, because the more you go out thrifting and upload items to your store, and more you build your store, the more and more you build your inventory, and things can get very messy very quickly. And you know, you learn as you grow. And that's something that definitely happened to me. And I've made tons and tons of mistakes along the way. And guess what? I've been reselling for several years and I am still learning every single day. So learn from my mistakes, learn from others' mistakes before you go out and make your own mistakes, because they can be costly. They can be costly mistakes, and you can save a lot of time and money if you heed this warning. So we're going to go ahead and do 10 do's and don'ts. I'm going to break it up into 5 do's and 5 don'ts. I saw through my stats on my podcast that you guys really enjoy this format. So let's go right into it. So number 1 for the do establish if you want SKU numbers. What are SKU numbers? SKU numbers are the devil. SKU numbers, no, they're not. But SKU numbers can either make or break you. And they totally broke me. They do not work for me. I do not like SKU numbers, period. But figure out if they work for you in the beginning, and figure out if they work for you with your first 5 to 10 items. Essentially, SKU numbers, they never repeat. The first item you list is item number 1. And when item number 1 sells, that's it. You'll never have another number 1 again. It goes into infinity and beyond. And let me tell you, I don't know why, but I just that was too confusing for me. That just doesn't fit with my personality. I wasn't a fan. So if you're a fan of that, SKU numbers, babe, you can go buy a roll of numbers on Amazon, a different site other than Amazon. I don't know, a site like that, and you can buy a roll of numbers and start labeling every single item you have and label it to infinity. But establish if you want SKU numbers, dare I say, day one. Day one, do your research, figure out if you want those numbers or not, because once you start labeling, you can't stop. You just have to keep going or get rid of it completely, and it's a headache. Number 2 for do's, do your research on larger resellers and figure out what they're doing in their system. Figure out if they have SKUs, figure out if they don't, figure out if they're organizing everything in bins or on racks. Do extensive research on these larger resellers, because they're already successful. Their bank accounts are already looking great. They're already there. They're where you want to be. Do your research, figure out what they're doing, and copy their system. Copy them, I would say, almost to a T. Make it your own thing, of course, but ultimately, if they're doing something and they're highly successful at it, their system's working. It's working, it's generating profit. Copy their system. For example, I copy Daily Refinement System, and a lot of people do. And if you go onto eBay and search for any t-shirt, any pair of jeans, any clothing brand, whatever, you will see a lot of people with kind of a carpet background, almost a gray carpet background. The clothing piece is on a hanger, at an angle. They flip it over. They have a giant ruler. Yeah, that's Daily Refinement System. You can go find his videos all over YouTube. I've 100% copied his system. Not to a T though. I've made it my own. Ultimately, I have husky shelves in the garage. And I have those long corrugated, I don't know how to say it. I have the long boxes, long boys. And I have invested time and money into this inventory system, but I did extensive research on it. And I believe he does do SKU numbers. And I tried to do the SKU numbers. Didn't work out for me. I don't do them anymore. But ultimately, I kept that same husky shelf size boxes he has also. And that's what works for me. And you know what? It worked for him and he was successful. And guess what? It works for me and I'm successful. So there we go. Number 3 for the do's, keep it small. Larger stores do not equal more sales. They don't make better sales. What makes good sales and more sales is actually having items people want in your store. And you can have, 100 items of some Christmas ornament, I guess. Okay, so like 100 people have to want that specific Christmas ornament, but are 100 people even looking for that specific Christmas ornament? You know what I mean? That's just an example. Keep your store as small as possible, especially in the beginning. This means not buying in bulk. This means not uploading, everything you have in one day. This means keeping things as small as possible because there is quite the benefit to having your inventory system in one room. My inventory system cannot fit in my house. It has to be in the garage. So there's that. I mean, I have a little over 1,200 items, and it's like, where do I store that, babe? Where do I store that? I can't store that in a closet. I can't store it in a box. I need those husky shelves. So keep it small, especially in the beginning. I would say like a small store, maybe like 100 to 250, 300 items. Keep it small, especially if you're just beginning to start out on this. You don't know how long you're going to do it. And I want you to make your money back because ultimately, let me guess, you're spending money on these items. Not everyone has 250 clothing items, shoes, and accessories laying around. If you do, great. Start your store today. Get the ball rolling. But I know a lot of you are out there purchasing inventory and putting your money into it and hoping to get, 5x, 10x your investment on these pieces. And once you do start, that's great, fantastic. But if you're spending all of this money up front and then you have a giant inventory and then no capital to then like snowball your store and build it up slowly, you can get hurt. Obviously, I may or may not have done this before. So there's that. Number 4 for the do's, start with free products. USPS offers free boxes of all shapes and sizes. They have envelopes, little boxes, medium boxes, large boxes, whatever, 100% free. You can go onto USPS right now and order free boxes and they will ship it $0, 0 cents. They will ship it to your door and you can create your own little inventory system. You got a spare shelf somewhere. Boom. Put the free boxes up there. Put everything you have online in these boxes. It's free. Start free. Dumpster dive, babe. A bunch of people actually dumpster dive for boxes. So go into a store, any store you could think of, Home Depot, a local store, mom and pop shop, and be like, hey, do you guys have cardboard boxes in the back that you don't want? Because a lot of these businesses get a ton of boxes that hold their supplies or inventory. And what do? They kind of break down the boxes, put them out to be recycled or thrown away, and they're never seen again. Or they get recycled and, somebody profits, but you can be profiting off of free boxes and they're going to get thrown away. They're going to get thrown away anyways. You could use these boxes to ship. You can ship your items with these boxes for free. Boxes can get a little pricey, especially if you are getting into like shoe box sizes. If you start to sell shoes, I have purchased boxes just to ship shoes in, right? And I think each box is costing me just under $1, like 87 cents. But I could have gotten free boxes, and some of the boxes I do have are free just from Amazon. I keep my boxes. I have dumpster dive for boxes. They're not in a dumpster necessarily. They're next to the dumpster just because they take up a lot of room within the trash can. So keep it free. Keep it free. A great idea is if you are selling small items like jewelry, necklaces, rings, stuff like that. I have an IKEA drawer set. I feel like a lot of people have this drawer. It's a very popular drawer. Personally, if I had small items and stuff, I would get everything out of that drawer, put it all in the drawer. Put it all in the drawer. Make sure it's in one place. Get an old shoebox. Get a tote. These totes from Target, I think they're around $5 to $8. I have tons of these totes. And the best part about it is they're plastic. Yes, I guess they could potentially break, but they don't expire. And the same with the Husky shelves and cardboard boxes. Not so much the cardboard boxes, but the Husky shelves, they're made out of steel. They're not going to expire. I can reuse them. Let's say someday I want to stop reselling. I still got Husky shelves. I still got storage. I mean, they're going to last me a lifetime. So really think about that later on when you get more into it. But if you want to invest all your money up front and, you're so sure about making your money back, then yeah, go for it. Buy something that's not going to expire. Oh yeah, I just thought of even moving boxes. Just essentially keeping your inventory small and keeping it all in one place can really, really help you in the long run. And number 5, something that I don't see a lot of people talking about is take a personality quiz and figure out what kind of personality you have to begin with. Are you a very visual person? Do you need things color coded? Does it make more sense to color code things? Or maybe you have all your shirts in one box and all your pants in another box, or you have one certain size in this box. Figure out what is gonna work for you, and try and imagine it on a large scale and a small scale, because you can go so far with reselling. But if this is just something you're doing to make some extra money on the side, maybe you don't need a whole shelf. Maybe you just need a couple boxes. Maybe you just need some space in your closet. I don't know. But ultimately, take a personality test and figure out what is really going to work for you and what you really like. I'm a very visual person. So the shelves are amazing. Every box is a number. I have box number 1, and I put whatever I want in box number 1, and then I have a separate website that I keep track of all my inventory. So, this item is in box number 1. I'm not exactly sure where it is in that order, but it's kind of like a filing cabinet, and I go through the items. Boom, there it is. It was in bin number 1. And that's essentially how I keep track of things. It doesn't matter what size it is. It doesn't matter what color it is. I just know this item is in bin number 1, and that helps me tremendously. And that fits in with my personality. And like I said, there are tons of ways to keep track of inventory. I think one of the biggest eBay sellers, I think he did everything on racks. And I'm not sure exactly what he did. I think he might have color coded it. Don't quote me on that. Either color coded it or by size. I don't really know. But everything was on racks, which if you think about it, that's crazy. That's so much storage. But guess what? He didn't spend time folding it up and putting it into bags and putting the SKU number on it. So he did save a lot of time in other areas, but that was something that worked tremendously for him, and he was one of the largest sellers on eBay, which is crazy. So take a little bit from these big resellers here and there, and ultimately copy one of them, copy one system. And once you copy one from the beginning, it'll be a lot easier for you, babe. All right, now we're going to get into the don'ts. I got 5 don'ts for you. Number 1 for the don't category, do not change your initial investment of SKU numbers. Really reiterating this in general. Do not change your inventory system several times. Pick one inventory system. Do it. Don't change it. Don't change anything about it, especially if you're doing these numbers and you're numbering items. Yeah, it gets real messy real quick. And personally, I used to do these numbers. I used to put everything in cellophane bags and kind of store it away in totes. And I essentially had the same system, right? Tote number 1, tote number 2. But I wasn't labeling the totes. The totes were, they were labeled. They were like tote number 1. It would be like items 1 through 50. Okay. And so when I would sell items 1 through 50, there would be nothing left in the tote because the SKU items didn't repeat. You know what I mean? And it's just things like that. I'm just like, I don't know. I got confused with it. It did not work out for me. So don't change your initial investment. If you're going to put everything into this, don't change it up all the time. Just pick one. Number 2, do not reinvent the wheel. Research the structures of people who are already successful. Like I said earlier too, these people are already successful. They already have successful businesses. Their bank accounts already look good. They're onto something. They know something. They know something that you might not know. Okay? So don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try and figure it out piece by piece by yourself and lose a bunch of money, because then that would really suck. Number 3 for the don'ts. Once you start reselling and you start to get some sales here and there, maybe some friends, family members will come up to you and say, hey, can you try and sell this for me and like give me 50% and you can keep the other 50%. That's called consignment. So consignment is a slippery slope, especially if you're doing business with friends and family. Consignment is a whole nother ball game. I would not recommend it for beginner resellers at all, unless this is your initial business plan. If you're looking to be solely consignment seller, you want to sell things for everyone, because essentially, you know, people just give you inventory and you are making a profit, but your profit margin is also cut into by that person you got the item from, right? So if you want to do consignment, cool, great, keep it consignment. Don't consign and then resell, because it is just a whole nother layer. And you could work it into your reselling business, sure, but ultimately it is a completely different business practice. So there's that on that. Also, don't do business with your friends. I don't know. One time I bought a sweatshirt from this Depop shop, and one guy replied, and he's like, yeah, my friend's gonna ship it. He lives in this state. So friends, they lived in totally different states. They ran the same Depop store. It's kind of weird, but hopefully, you know, it worked out for them. But I have no idea how they shared those profits. Like, super weird. Okay, number 4, kind of niche down into what you want to sell. So you want to sell clothing. Okay, great. Let's start with one type of clothing. What about jeans? What about t-shirts? What about, I don't know, just accessories, just handbags, just something like that. Figure out, you know, one thing that you can really do some extensive research in and get really good at. This is something I wish I did, because I started off with every type of clothing, men's, women's. Sometimes I would pick up kids' clothes on accident and I would just go ahead and sell those. Sometimes that happens to me still, but for the most part, I am picking up primarily men's and women's clothing. I think I have like 5 listings that are like junior size clothing, and I only got those because it was a mistake. But kind of figuring out one thing can help you also figure out the inventory system that is right for you. So if you only want to sell jewelry, great. You only need like a small little shoebox, a drawer to keep things in. And when you start investing into more bulky storage options, for example, I sell clothing, shoes, accessories, but I do not keep my shoes in my inventory system. I keep my shoes in those totes, actually, because I can't store shoes in the garage because they get all warped and gross and nasty. So I keep those inside, and it is kind of hard keeping them separate. And that's just one item. Like, the shoes are separate from the clothes. That's just one thing. Now, imagine if I'm keeping t-shirts in this box and jeans in the next box. I don't know. Like, it would just get, it would look weird. It would get all weird. So kind of figure out one thing. That would be the most recommended option, I would say, is like, okay, you want to sell clothing? Cool. Let's go ahead and let's start with jeans. Let's start with jeans, or let's start with tops. Let's start with one type of clothing and get like really solid good at it, and then move on to the next type of clothing. And eventually you can build it up and, you know, sell all of these categories. Pick one category. I wish I had done this because it would have saved me a ton of time and energy, and I feel like I'd be more knowledgeable in lots of different categories. And last but not least, number 5 for the don'ts. Do not buy bulk inventory, especially if you're starting out. Clothes can be overwhelming. If you see a giant pile of clothes, think about when you do laundry and you have like a giant pile of clothes and you have to put them all away. It's intimidating. It's intimidating. And if you're a beginner and you receive this giant pile of clothes, very intimidating. Start small. Start with anything and everything you own already. That's your pile. I hope it's only like 20 items. I don't know your life, but if I had to guess, probably like 20 to 50 items you personally own. You could put those up. Great. That's one pile. And it's probably going to overwhelm you, quite honestly. And if you do it all at once, and list them all at once, you could get burnt out. So kind of space it out too. And keeping those piles smaller and letting yourself reset to 0 is a good thing. And it's a good thing mentally, visually. Okay, boom, I photographed, boom, I listed, boom, I put everything away. Great, you reset to 0. And this is easier said than done, and it's way easier on the smaller scale. So once again, you're keeping your store small, you're keeping your inventory small. This is an easier task to do. So you buy it, photograph, list, ship, put it away, ship. Okay, that's 5 things. Great. That's essentially what I do, but I just do it 40 times or 50 times, however many times. And it takes a long time, you know, like I'm a full-time reseller. Like it takes quite a bit of time. So keep it small, and it'll help you in all of these small little increments, and it'll build up, and it'll benefit you, and it'll be better. And I will say, one time I bought in bulk. No, 2 times I did some bulk buys. The first bulk buy I ever did, I paid $100 to an antique store, and there was a giant trailer in the back of this antique store, and he was like, okay, $100, you can take all of these clothes, load them up in your car, take them away, it's all vintage. And I'm like, okay. Most of these clothes were damaged. They were cute vintage pieces. I sold a lot of them, but some of them were damaged. Some of them were like moldy, mildew. The elastic was like making that like crinkle sound. That's what happens to a lot of vintage clothes. The elastic will get wet or something and it'll like sound really weird. But yeah, horrible buying decision for me. I had to wash every single one of those pieces. I'm talking like 500, 600 pieces. I took my dad's car all the way there to pick it up. One of the worst buys I ever did, and it was very overwhelming because there were so many pieces. The second buy I did, it was $2,500. I went to Dallas. I essentially talked to this guy who I met on Craigslist, who was a storage unit buyer, and he didn't want clothes. A lot of these storage unit buyers don't want clothes. They don't see any value in them at all. And that's essentially how resellers make money, because a lot of people don't see clothes as valuable. And I spent $2,500 or $2,100. I can't really remember, but rented a U-Haul truck. I've made my money back. And then some. But it was super overwhelming. I don't even know how many pieces I got. To be honest with you, I didn't count. But probably over 1,000 items I got from this guy. And it was just so overwhelming. And the worst part about buying in bulk is you can't cherry pick. You can't cherry pick what you want, or the sizes you want, or the category. You can't do any of that. You're buying in bulk. You're buying a lot of it all at once. And if you're a beginner, this is very daunting. I do not recommend buying in bulk for beginners, period, at all. I think you should be cherry picking. I think you should be going to thrift stores and going to the racks, actually, and flipping through all the racks, picking out what you think is valuable, what would sell, and then looking every single item up individually on eBay, seeing the sell-through rate, and seeing what you picked up, if what you picked up is valuable or not, and kind of developing those skills of seeing quality versus non-quality, getting a feel for 100% linen, 100% wool, cashmere, just kind of getting more knowledgeable about what the items actually are. Don't buy in bulk. Okay, that is all I have for you thrifty bitches for today. Once again, I am at Up and Out Thrift on eBay and Depop. You can catch me at laurenlazelle on Instagram. I am most active there. And I want to hear from you guys. Go ahead and head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a little review with your @ for Depop or eBay, a little bit about what you sell, where we can find you, and a little bit about yourself, and I will shout you out on the next episode. I love hearing about you guys and what you guys sell, where we can find you, and I just want to kind of like cultivate a little community of all of us and get all of our, shops together, and we can all follow each other, and that'd be super cool. So head on over there. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.